Hi, I'm Rajiv Kumar, Vice President of Mortgage Solutions at Flatworld, and I'm here in Mount Laurel, New Jersey at the headquarters of AnnieMac Home Mortgage. AnnieMac has funded more than $15 billion in mortgages so far, and they serve more than 10,000 customers per annum. I'm here with young and dynamic Craig Ungaro, COO of AnnieMac Home Mortgage. Craig, thank you very much for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
And thank you for giving me the time to talk to you.
Absolutely.
So we've been working together for about 18 months now, and we have talked before that as well. What's been your overall experience so far? What are some of the promises that were made during the sales process, and what do you think about whether or not we were able to deliver on those?
Yeah, my experience has been great, but more importantly, my team's experience has been great. The promises that you made and what we've been doing have really aligned. What we talked about prior to joining Flatworld was designing custom solutions that meet our business needs, not sort of forcing out-of-the-box solutions to us. And I think that was definitely delivered upon. And what I also really appreciate the most, and we've done this before with some other organizations, is that you really had made my managers feel very comfortable in this process. So yeah, all around great experience.
Let's talk about the transition process. We picked up a couple of tasks to begin with, and today we do more than 6 to 8 different processes for you. But when we started to move forward in this direction, what's been the experience from your team in terms of getting something over to Flatworld? In terms of getting us started with something, how easy or difficult is that experience?
Sure, yeah, so that process, and you're right, we sort of did the crawl, walk, run process, and I would say we're pretty close to the running part of this now. But in the very beginning, we wanted to get some success out of this, and then we wanted to sort of move forward. I would say for us, when we realized that this was going to be a very long-term relationship, is when we started to implement Flatworld into our solution thinking. So in other words, when we thought of doing something different, or when we think of doing something different, we think of how can Flatworld help us? And just the other day, we have a solution in mind. I haven't even talked to you about it yet. And you were one of the first things I thought of. Flatworld was one of the first solutions that I thought of. I said, this is probably an area where Flatworld can really help us. And that's not just me, that's my staff. My staff thinks that way. We think that way when it comes to new solutions. We also think that way when it comes to scaling. And that's probably one of the first things that we think of.
Perfect. Well, you brought scaling to our discussion, and I know this year has been great for you and for a lot of other companies in the industry. How has Flatworld adapted to the growth that you had this year? Was it easier to get people? Were we able to just meet your demands overall for a scaling point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the expectations were set early on. We knew that it wasn't going to be tomorrow, but the 30-day window has been sort of what has been discussed, and it's what's been delivered. And I would say probably have exceeded your expectations, but those have been our expectations. No, fortunately, our partnership with Flatworld is not just we call you when you need you, and you don't call us when we need vice versa.
Sure.
And that we have regular conversations, so these things don't come as a surprise. We're able to have on our Friday calls, like, hey, we can tell you where business is coming from, and we might need things and different solutions and where those needs come from. So we've not had any concerns about scaling our operation. This year has been a very unique year and a very good year, and I don't think we could have done it without our partnership with Flatworld.
Great. Now, I want to understand what were some of the business drivers as well as the operational thinking that you had when you got into this outsourcing relationship, or even before that, maybe when you were thinking about outsourcing. What were some of the operational or business challenges that you were looking to solve for?
Yeah, so I would say early on, prior to Flatworld, outsourcing was something that I, sort of did out of industry pressure, if you will, right? I know other people are doing it. There's got to be something to it. Let's do it. And then maybe that's why some of those ventures had failed. But when we spoke about it, we aligned. It wasn't something I said, I have this problem and I want to solve it. We sort of discussed what those things could be. And obviously, cost to produce was definitely one of those things. But you sort of opened my eyes to some other areas, one being scaling. I know we talked about that a little bit more. But what I really got out of this, and I know you touched on it, but I didn't really believe it until I experienced it, which was the extension of our management team. A lot of folks think of this as being a fulfillment play. For us, we've really extended our expertise much further along lines. And what I mean by that is, we have instead of going into a busy season where your employees are already sort of overworked and your managers are overworked, and now they have to recruit and interview and hire and then support a new employee. You really took a lot of that away from us, if not all of it. So it's great that we're able to talk and say we're going to need 2 more folks or in this area or in this area. But what's great is that when they're ready, they're ready. And there's really nothing's being missed at all. So that's not something we would be able to do internally. And if we did, the opportunity cost to the organization would be very great.
Great. Thank you for that insight. Talking about overall operational relationship that we've had in 18 months, I'm sure there would have been examples of things being not done the way you expected or things of that sort. But what really matters is how easy or difficult it is to sort those issues out. Have you heard from your operations team about any issues they had with Team Flatworld, and how easy or difficult was it for them to address those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality is there are going to be hiccups and bumps in the road. Having your management team embrace this is a hurdle. And I would say anybody in my position, that is something that needs to be addressed. And I think before you engage, you need to be able to do that. So what I mean by that is explaining, being very transparent about what this partnership means and how it meets our organizational goals. I think that was very, very critical. Now, again, when people buy in, if there are some bumps in the roads, the immediate reaction to that is pull back. But we've done a great job of being able to overcome that. And I would say part of the reason on why we were able to do that and overcome that is because we've really aligned our teams very well culturally. And so it's not an us and them mentality. You're an extension of AnnieMac. And that's really been the key to overcoming any problem that we had. Early on, our disclosure process didn't meet the productivity that we initially thought it would. And so that required our teams getting back down to sort of going through procedures and making sure that what we were doing stateside and what you were doing there were identical, and we weren't missing or adding too many things to your plate, which we weren't doing here. And we ironed that out very quickly, and we haven't heard about that problem since. So that would be a good example of something early on that maybe managers would want to retreat, but we overcame. And once that happened, confidence across the board was at an all-time high.
That's a great example. Thank you. You today, in your position, you have multiple vendors that serve you in different areas of the business, and 18 months with Flatworld today. What would you say some of the top, differences that you may have seen with Flatworld? Good or bad? I'll let you decide.
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say that probably the one thing that stands out the most to me is that it's very clear to me that your organization is a very close organization, and there aren't a lot of there aren't any disconnections internally on your end. There's a lot of transparency, and how that is evidenced to me, or why I come to that conclusion, is because every phone call that we have, anytime we want a new solution or we need to add, or we want to work through a problem, I get you on the call, I get Ron on the call. The same 2 people that were courting me before we started are still part of it, as well as the managers and the SMEs are there. So there's no disconnections. There's no, I wasn't on that call, tell me what happened on that call. We're all there together, we're working through it. And that commitment is really felt top to bottom in your organization. So that would be the one thing I'd say if I had to pick one thing. The other thing is your commitment to our success. So I know that you have other clients, but the way we operate, I don't feel that. I don't feel as though I'm just one of many clients. I feel as though I'm your only client, and I mean that sincerely. Great.
Thank you for that feedback.
You're welcome.
Now, we want to close this interview with a last question. With your experience that you've had over the last 18 months, and hopefully it's going to continue for much longer, would you recommend Flatworld as an outsourcing partner to another mortgage company? And if yes, then what are the top 2-3 things that you may want to, have part of your message for them to think about Flatworld?
So the answer is yes, and I have. And I will continue to refer or to recommend Flatworld as a partner. What I would say is that the success of this is on you as the lender as much as it is on Flatworld. I would say take the advice that you provided to our organization, which is making sure that Flatworld is a part of your organization and not an us versus them environment. That makes all the difference in the world. Ron Howell gave me tons of examples on how you can do that, and we've tried to adopt some of those things, and I think that's been a big part of our success. I would say that you have to really align and make it very clear to your organization why you're doing this. That is very critical. And then I would say if you're a COO or a CEO or a senior leader, be a part of those initial conversations. That's very, very key to the success as well.
Craig, thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure.
And we really appreciate the business.
Thank you very much.